I've had so many crazy experiences just handing in my resignation. I had to carry 10 cups of tea up 3 flights of stairs.
Why and how and who had the time in a law firm to create a freaking tea colour chart?
I said, guys, this is not personal, this is business. I have a better opportunity.
And I don't know if part of it's denial over the fact that the culture is so bad or that they want to leave but can't.
They took away my responsibilities, my clients. They want to catch you out.
It went absolutely mad.
What? Like, you're not dealing with my case anymore? Like, they freak out, don't they?
And everyone was telling me that I just ruined my whole life and I was a massive failure.
Making people feel like they're crazy to leave.
That time I'd had enough. And nobody could get their heads around that, and they cut off their nose to spite their face, really. So what are we talking about, Holly?
Leaving law resignations, but more specifically, what happens when you hand in your resignation? Because I don't know about you, but I've had so many crazy experiences just handing in my resignation. I had like a few jobs, I handed it in, right? And they were like, are you sure? They're like, but just have a think
Yeah.
about it and then come back to me. And it's like, no, it's taken me a lot to actually hand it in. I'm definitely sure. Do you know what I mean?
I find that really weird that law firms do that. And sorry, just to pause, because I realise we've done this in probably quite a disorganised way. We're never disorganised, by the way, but we're doing these water cooler chats. I think you guys probably all know this by now, but the reason behind it is we want this to be real conversations, kind of behind the curtain, as if you're sitting here just having a drink with us, just opening up about these kind of topics that nobody actually really talks about. So that's the idea behind it. And that's why we've come straight in with this topic, which is talking about resignations and the challenges and weird things that happen around that, because both of us have found that we've gone through sort of slightly strange experiences when we've resigned. And also Holly did a post recently about how she resigned and her boss threatened to sue her as a consequence. And this post went completely viral, didn't it? It went absolutely mad. That was where we came to this topic, really, because it just feels like there's something a bit behind the scenes that we can talk about on this one. And I totally agree with what you just said, Holly, which is that it is strange when you hand in your notice at law firms, they often look at you like you're a bit strange. Like, why would you ever want to leave here? Like, this place is amazing. What would make you want to do that? And I don't know if part of it's denial over the fact that the culture is so bad, or that they want to leave but can't, or it's the fact that they just don't want to have to recruit a new person, so they want to gaslight you into staying, or just complete obliviousness. I don't know. What do you think, Holly?
Oof.
Oh, Scott's grabbing a beer. I feel like I need a beer. It's the evening. I can do that.
Why does it happen? It probably happens in other industries, but I feel like it's quite, what's the word, extreme in the legal industry. I think mainly because of all this talk that we talk about to do with toxic cultures. It's another toxicity trait, right? Like gaslighting people or making people feel like they're crazy to leave, or the complete opposite, which is like, okay, well, you're deciding to leave, you're now an outsider to us, and we're going to take away your responsibilities. This is what happened to me. I handed in my notice, right? And they took away my responsibilities. I went from like a fee earner to who had like my own paralegal doing my paralegal work, to becoming the tea maker, the tea lady. They took away my responsibilities, my clients. I mean, I had to carry tea.
Is that a bad? Sorry, I'm not laughing. That's a very serious story. But is it bad being the tea lady just for a moment? Because in a way, at least the tea is going to be good. But let you finish.
So true. However, it wasn't just like it's not what you think. It's like, it was more extreme than that, right? I had to carry 10 cups of tea up 3 flights of stairs.
What?
Also, there was a tea
Okay, that's
chart.
terrible.
There was a tea colour chart, so everyone had to pick their colour. So everyone wanted a different colour type tea.
I did
Not
not know this
joking.
was where the conversation was going, but I just feel like this is even more interesting than the resignation story. So, why and how and who had the time in a law firm to create a freaking tea colour chart? And did the new trainee come in like fearful that, oh no, I got the wrong shade of brown?
Yes. Literally, that's exactly what happened. And so I became that tea lady because I'd handed in my notice. So it's like, right, you're nothing to us now. You can just make our tea when we like ask for it. It was like they had like a bell. They didn't actually
Yeah.
have a bell, but like it was like, right, tea. And I was like, right, run down these stairs. It's like the Victorian age.
But in the Victorian age, they used to have those shafts, didn't they? You know, with the things on a pulley, so you could just
True,
put your tray in and it
true
would go.
that.
But you had to like
I didn't even
risk
have that.
scolding yourself. Though that might be occupiers liability then.
Such a good point. Such a good point. Employer liability.
Oh, we've got a question here. How long did you have to make the tea? Were you being timed, Holly? We've got some serious tea questions coming. I didn't see this curveball.
I had to make tea for a month. However, I wasn't timed on how long it took me to make the tea, so I was in the kitchen for a while because imagine lots of cups of
Yeah.
teas, boiling the kettle multiple times, and it had to be a precise colour. Do you know what I mean?
This is bizarre. Okay, right. So you were on tea duty. You had a color chart. Did you take the color chart with you when you made the tea to make sure you were getting the right, exactly right? Was it like a sort of matching thing?
I did actually.
I was joking.
No, no,
Did
no.
you
There was an actual
actually?
chart. It was printed out. People chose the colour. I took the chart, did the tea. Some people
Oh
might
my
have
God.
wanted hot chocolate or green tea or whatever, so that's fine.
Mm.
But there was other complicated, situations. I felt like that should have been added to like a skill on my CV, for the next jobs.
I feel like that should be a LinkedIn skill, but I've just realised I actually misinterpreted that question, probably because I was genuinely interested. But we've actually heard from Nancy here. She says, actually, how long did you have to put up with that, the serious, awful behaviour, like being
Oh,
resigned to tea duties? Like, let's go back to the story. So, what actually happened there, Holly?
okay, so it was for a month. Basically,
A whole month.
my responsibilities were taken away. Well, like the responsibilities that were in my job description.
Yeah.
And I think it was like a tactic to undermine me. I mean, I understand that, like, you got to, certain clients need to stop working with you, but I didn't even sometimes get a chance to finish the cases. And it's like it was such a personal area that I needed to be in contact with
Mm.
clients, and clients were like, what? Like, you're not dealing with my case anymore? Like, they freak out, don't they?
So
That
the
was it.
firm kind of they what's the expression? They cut off their nose to spite their face, really. Actually, they just said, fine, we'll take your cases away. Your clients were left floundering, so that's terrible client service. It's obviously not good for you, not good for the client, and it just sounds like a
Shambles.
total thank you. I was gonna say something ruder. You saved me. I keep remembering that. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
but that sounds absolutely crazy, doesn't it? And who took over your cases? Because presumably everyone was busy. Like, how do they just suddenly offload all those cases?
Well, yeah, then they start allocating it onto other people, and then other people start complaining because it's like, oh, I've now got a heavier caseload and all this business. But like you say, cut off the nose to spite the face. That's just how it was, really. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that was a particularly bad
that's
one, though.
absolutely mad. And is that the same firm where they threatened to sue you
Yeah, this was
when
after that. This was so
it was after that? Yeah.
threatened to sue me. Then, like, after a week or two, they took that away, like, okay, we're not going to do that. And it's like, yeah, because you don't have grounds to do it. So then it was like, we're just going to be mean to you instead.
And what else did they do? You say mean to you. I mean, it sounds like, T duty was a double-edged sword. I mean, or I don't know, there was a silver lining to it because you got to disappear for a bit. But
Yeah.
what else did they do to you?
Just the behavior, like ignoring me or shouting at me for, I can't even think now because you do try and get it out of your mind, don't you? But
Mm.
just trying to make me feel anxious and like small, basically, just to try just these tactics of
Mm.
ignoring and icing you out and stuff. I don't know if you've ever had that before.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had that so many times. It's a weird thing in law, I think, where, leaving a firm is not a personal thing. It's not like you're saying, well, actually, probably a lot of people do leave because of managers, etc. But it's life, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We don't stay at one firm for our whole life. So actually, if we think of our career like a business, as I always encourage people to do, actually, you leaving a firm is it's just a commercial transaction at the end of the day.
That's
You
exactly
know,
what I said.
oh,
I said, Guys, this is not personal. This is business. I have a better opportunity. I'm going to go and head for that opportunity because you can't offer me anything better. That's it. Do you know what I mean? That it's just that.
Yeah. I'd hate to break up with you though. You'd be like, I just found someone better.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
Yeah.
dear. Like, yeah, no, they're just better. They're better. Oh, Scott says here, I was sent off to a satellite office where there was no one else around that I couldn't speak to anyone. That's awful. That's like solitary confinement, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How was that for you, Scott? And like, yeah, what happened? Did they keep you working or? And yeah, I mean, so for me, I had similar things with quite a few people. There was actually at one firm I worked at, it was just the thing where you knew as soon as you resigned, the boss would hate you. They hated everyone as soon as they resigned. And there was
Yeah.
one firm I worked at where this one random partner did a bit of work for them, just took umbrage, obviously, as soon as I'd handed in my notice. And they just ignored me,
Mm.
like completely ignored me,
Yeah.
to the point where I'd be sending them emails, they wouldn't get back to me. I didn't know what was going on my matters, on my cases. And then there was one day I was working crazy hours, but there was one day I came late into the office, maybe like half an hour, 45 minutes. It was nothing, because I'd had a dentist appointment. And this partner apparently had been checking up on me. And then they came into the office to check I had actually been to the dentist. But they did it in this really sort of untoward way, which is like, oh, yeah, oh, hi, Helen, how are you doing? I just heard you at the dentist. It was the weirdest thing because they've been ignoring me for about 2 weeks.
Ah.
And luckily or unluckily, whatever, but half of my face was frozen. So they could see it was true, but they were so hoping that they were going to be able to trip me up with that, you know? Like in what world? I feel like I don't know if anyone's here from other industries, please do tell us. But I just, I don't understand it. Like what's going on in your mind to even
Yeah, check
think
up.
that's acceptable behavior? It's very strange, isn't
Yeah,
it?
they want to catch you out, but it's like, also, can I just say, not everyone who goes to the dentist has a half numb face. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes
Well,
you go
exactly.
for
That's why I felt
a
lucky.
checkup.
Yeah, I know. It's
So,
it's because I eat too many sweets, basically. I
yeah,
really
I know
like
you do.
sweets. I just wonder, in some law firms, obviously it's fine, and I've had some good experiences, some fine experiences, some normal experiences around this. But what I just don't understand is how this sort of behaviour is tolerated from other people. It's this thing of, the facilitation of it, and I suppose this goes back to some of the stuff we spoke around recently, which is, if you are bringing in money, if you're a rainmaker, you've got a lot more leeway to say what you want. But if you're reasonably junior, how do you stand up to management and say, actually, yeah, isn't it a bit weird that everyone who leaves gets iced out or bullied?
Hmm.
Like, how?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
how do you do that? And then the whole system kind of is this sort of silent, complicit system. And I think we see it across the board, really.
I know.
Peter's saying that this isn't unique to the legal profession. He got pulled up for exceeding his lunch break by 5 minutes, but never acknowledged for working in excess of the contracted hours on a daily basis. And we've got another comment here as well from LinkedIn user, somebody anonymous, saying that let's not forget that law firm leadership is focused on the personality, especially since the name on the wall is the partners. And so it's not just some corporate generic name. So everything's about reputation, it's personal in this arena. I think this opens up a whole conversation, actually, doesn't it, around the fact that law firm partnerships are slightly strange beasts in many ways, because the business is focused in quite a short-term way on profits. Like no one wants to take a cut in order to make things better for the long term, say, and invest. And I know Scott would probably have a few things to say on this in connection with the billable hour. It's like, actually, how do you change systems which are better for the medium and long term? Because all these sorts of rainmaker or senior partners are thinking, actually, I don't want to change the system for the next couple of years because that could be detrimental to me. And it's sort of in this system where it's people are stuck in this idea of the billable hour, churning as much out of you as possible, and just really strange behaviors. And I think that's reflected in the leaving as well. It's just,
Hmm.
I don't know, strange attitudes around it, and around seeing people not as people really, but in terms of just what they can produce. And it's like, oh, as soon as you hand in your notice, then you're not one of us, you're not part of it anymore, so we just cut you off, even though that's a really stupid thing to do, because law is a very small world, as we both know from all of our connections and the weird and wonderful things that happen. Everyone knows each other, so we need to be thinking a bit in a big picture sense in terms of the ramifications. I think. I don't know what you think on that, Holly.
I think it's kind of a vicious cycle because they don't want to put in the time, effort, not everyone, but certain firms, to make it a better place for people to work. But then when people hand in their notices or resignations, it's like, oh, well, fine, you're just abandoning us. But they're not actually thinking, okay, this is the turnover. Maybe we should actually do something about it. And the number of times where I've handed in my notice and senior people have been like, even just looked at me horribly in the corridor. And it's not
Mm.
in my head, in my imagination. They genuinely did. And just the bullying and just the basically treating you like, well, this is my experience. Like you're not even human anymore. You're just like, we don't even want to know you. Get out type of thing. It's just so strange. I don't understand it.
I've really seen that. And actually, I was having an interesting conversation with a senior lawyer yesterday who was telling me that they've been in meetings before where the senior, it happened to be male colleagues that asked the question, was saying, because they were female, when are you planning on having children? When are you planning on having a family? And this person actually said that's completely inappropriate. But for years before that, people hadn't spoken up about it because they didn't feel they were able to. And it's that same thing as, are you actually part of the pack? Are you one of us? As soon as you say I'm leaving, you're not one of them. As soon as
Mm,
you might say, oh, and I'm not saying this is every firm, it's absolutely not, but it is a
yeah.
lot more prevalent than I think we think it is, which is, oh, you're going to have a baby. Oh, well, you're not as interested. It's like all these things that we do all the time in law, which just sort of segregate people and take them out of the sort of central stage, if you like.
It's a shame, really, to be honest, because the amount of value that people can bring. And what about the relationships after they leave? Like,
Mm.
let's say you leave a firm, but you still have a good relationship with the people in that firm. You might be able to refer work to them, and vice versa. And there's so much
Yeah.
value in maintaining that relationship after they have left that it doesn't make any sense to, like we said before, cut off the nose to spite the face.
I've heard that when I've written about this stuff on LinkedIn before. I've had very senior lawyers who are now in-house lawyers, like GCs of big companies, and then funnily enough, their old law firms would come scurrying back to them, and these partners who have been total, and they're just like, no, I will never give you work. Over my dead body will I give you work? And I think this is where you sort of start to see the sort of kind of narcissistic character playing up, because it's that sort of inner child that can't control emotions, that's just angry because somebody's leaving or abandoning them, and that's their wound and that's what they've got to deal with. But suddenly they see, oh, that person's important to them in the future. Oh, I'll try and go back, but they've burned those bridges already. I've seen that just so many
Mm,
times, and you hear these stories. I think if you went through the comments on our posts, you'd see like top GCs literally saying that now. And
yeah.
Scott's making the point that this doesn't happen at all firms, and it absolutely doesn't. Just to make that clear, there's a lot of really great firms out there, and I think in law now we have a lot of firms doing things differently, which is a really good thing. But yeah, we have to see every team member as human, treat them well throughout their time at the firm, and they'll give back even when they resign. I think that's just a law of life, really, isn't it? Holly, I don't know if there's sort of anything else on this that you want to particularly flag around your experience or
I
anything you're
guess
left with.
there's one thing about leaving a law firm to go to onto another one, but I'm interested to hear about your experience, and I can tell mine about leaving law completely. When I handed in my resignation to leave law completely, to travel and work and stuff and do what I'm doing now, they were so confused. They were like, "What? Are you sure?" And then I think they genuinely thought that I'd like lost the plot or something. And they, the director of the company, who wouldn't usually have like scheduled a meeting with me, was like, "What on earth has happened for you to be leaving completely and not going on to another job?" And it just seemed to like completely baffle them all. So I think,
Well, I've done that twice now, where I left. Well, I suppose the second time, the first time I actually just left without a job and without much of a clue, other than that I was going on a yoga retreat in Scotland. That time I'd had enough. And nobody could get their heads around that. People kept asking me secretly, like, yeah, but where are you going? I know you don't want to tell everyone. And I was like, no, I'm just going nowhere.
That's
I
what I
really
said.
am going nowhere,
Yeah.
and I couldn't be happier right now. And I wasn't setting up a business because I had no idea what I was going to do with my life at that point, and I had no business in mind, and I just wanted out. People really couldn't get their heads around that. The second time, I think it was more people understood it a bit more because I, finished my psychotherapy training. I was doing a bit of psychotherapy on the side, and I think that was more understandable. But at the same time, then not just from inside work, but outside of work as well, I had so many people who were deeply concerned for my well-being and future and were saying, you're throwing away being a law firm partner, you're going to be a failure, your life's going to fall apart. Don't you know business is hard? How are you going to make any money? You'll be back in law before too long. And then I remember this one particularly, he meant it very kindly, but a very senior, like older male partner, just telling me that, he just said, well, what do your mummy and daddy say? And I was like, yeah, you don't know my mum and dad. They're like, yeah, cool, you do your thing. Um, but yeah, I was like, mama and papa, no, I have no freaking idea.
Did he actually say it
But
like that?
it's, yeah, pretty much. But I look, I have no qualms against him. It was a sort of a generational thing, and he was genuinely confused and looking out for my best interest. But I
Yeah.
think when you go off piece and when you want to do something different,
People get concerned.
people can't get their head really like deeply concerned, deeply,
Yeah.
really deeply concerned until you start doing well, and then they're like, "Well, I knew you could always do it." You're like, "No, you
Yeah.
didn't. You told me not to do it."
Yeah, I've had the same, like, where people were just like, "Are you gonna be all right, like, financially? You're making a massive mistake." The same comments that you got, basically. You have to be really strong to just completely get those comments out of your head and just think, "No, no, they don't know what they're talking about, like, focus on what I'm doing," type of thing, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I think it takes a lot, and that might also be something we want to talk about in the future, I guess, which is like if you're thinking you actually want to leave law. And by the way, I'm not saying people should leave law. I think there's lots of parts of law which are really great to be in. We need fantastic lawyers. I'm a great supporter of people staying in law in a healthy, happy, and fulfilled way as well. But if you do want to leave law, I think it's helpful to sort of understand how you might even start to go about that, because I know when I did it, I had no idea, like literally no idea, and everyone was telling me that I just ruined my whole life and I was a massive failure, which probably isn't the most helpful narrative. Just seeing a couple of,
Yeah,
what have you got? Careful who you listen to, from John O. Basically, you're the key person, as only you know what's inside your head. Friends and family mean well. And I think that's one of the biggest things in business that my business coach taught me, actually. She said, actually, you have to be so careful who you let into your inner circle, because whilst friends and family, you may, want to listen to everything they say, that may not be the most helpful advice for you.
yeah,
And I see that particularly now with lawyers I coach, because I'll say, well, why don't you do X or something? And they'll say, oh, well, that's impossible because no one does that. And I think, well, yes, that's impossible within your circles that you move in with those mindsets. But you move into different circles, they will give you a different answer, but they're not hearing those conversations.
totally, totally.
It's who you surround yourself with, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Do we have any other questions or comments? I love the comment, but it's like I'm scrolling up to get to it because it was quite a while back now, but I really wanted to say it. It's from Nancy, who said, "So tea lady rather than garden leave." I love that. Basically, they just wanted
Yeah.
a tea lady. It was like, we could send you home, but there's no point because you can just walk up 3 flights of stairs with all our teas.
It's so true. They At one firm, they just started giving me all these completely pointless tasks to do. I mean, yours is actually embarrassing, and also I wonder whether they would have done the same to a man. I feel like there's sort of
They
implicit
didn't.
sexism in that potentially.
Saw multiple guys
Um,
leave that place, and no, they didn't do it to them.
they just don't. It's one of those tasks, isn't it? Oh, you know, delegate that to a woman, or a birthday card needs doing. Oh, a woman will be better at sorting that out. Or I had a
Yeah.
brilliant conversation with someone again yesterday who said to me they would be good at admin. They should do the admin because women are better at admin. And this person was saying, no, I'm terrible at admin. There's just so many of these gender stereotypes that I think still exist. Like you wouldn't believe they exist because no one can actually say it out loud in the normal world.
I know, I know.
Um,
It's crazy, man.
but yeah, no, I think it's just absolutely mad, isn't it? This world that we still live in now with all of this stuff. And yeah, I think it's true. Why don't also the thing I don't get, and I realize we're coming to time now, is banks, for example, as soon as you say you're leaving, you will be on garden leave because they actually see the risk that you pose to the firm. For some reason, law firms don't see this. You've got access to all their systems, all of this that, there could be potentially huge damage that's caused, and yet law firms force people to work their notice periods. To me, that's completely bizarre. I don't know why it is that banking and finance see it one way and law sees it completely another. From a risk perspective, that's insane, I think. But
I know.
every firm I know of makes you work your notice.
They
So
do. I was dying for garden
yeah.
leave. I was so desperate for it, and then they were just like, "No, you have to come in every single day. You're not going to do anything. You're going to be so bored, but you're going to have to just sit there anyway." So I was like, "Right, okay," and I just
Yeah.
entertained myself.
So I think we're coming up to time. Holly, any
Yeah.
final words?
No.
Well, thanks for coming, everyone. Holly is grateful.
I
She is
am.
really.
I am.
Yeah, we're both very grateful. No, it's great to see you all here. Thanks so much for joining us today. This will be made into a podcast and put on the More Than a Lawyer podcast as a mini series, won't it, Holly? I think. Please do message us, give us ideas, whatever you want us to talk about. It can be funny topics, even like we don't care.
We like having a laugh,
We want it to be real. We do like having a laugh. This was a very serious conversation, this
despite
one.
our faith.
Oh, there is a final question. Helen has got a serious question, which is, how do you take your tea? Please state the colour. That's for
Okay.
you, Holly.
I'm showing you the exact color. Well, actually, it's much darker than this because that on screen it looks lighter. But it's like basically tea bag in a while, dash of milk. That's it. Quite strong.
I feel like that's too strong. I don't think that's good for your liver at that point.
Seriously.
Yeah, there's a whole thing. My uncle used to work once he retired on the reception of the hospital, and then one of the kidney consultants or something said that you shouldn't actually have really tea or coffee because when it leaves a stain in the cup. He was like, think of
Yeah.
that on your insides.
Oh, geez, Louise. I have like 5 a day. Right, that's it. I'll just have one in the morning.
Thanks
There you
so
go.
much, guys. See you
Thank you
soon. Bye,
guys. See
everyone.
you.
See you. Bye.